what I really want you to explain for everybody right now is what's the difference between fitting into a group or a culture at work versus belonging to that group of friends or belonging to that team and that culture at work?
It is entirely rooted in how you feel, Mel. Oftentimes we think that the mind goes first, but it's actually the body. Our body will signal to us how we're doing how we're experiencing a situation or a person before our mind even catches up. And so we want to, after today, start using our body as a guidepost for an anchor for how we're feeling. And so I define belonging really quickly as the profound feeling. So again, it's something in our body that says to us, I'm being honored and accepted for who I am. When we are experiencing belonging, we feel in flow, like we feel at ease, we feel safe, it feels good, it feels nice, even when it feels vulnerable, like even when we're feeling a bit nervous and activated because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm worried, what are you going to think and say? But I'm still going to share me and do me. It feels good. Whereas fitting in is activating. Like I often talk about when we feel the pressure to put on our performing self mask and change the way we speak or hide aspects of our identity. Like, for example, I experienced a lot of inequities and hate and hurt coming my way, tied back to my race and intersectionality with being a girl, a smart girl or woman, and coming from a immigrant child family upbringing. But people experience all kinds of judgment and bias tied back to, for example, mental health. Like, look at people's experiences with anxiety, depression, or you grew up poor, or you're the first person in your family to go to college or university, or some people feel like they're so short, tall, they're bigger. Like, we are being judged. The fear of judgment and bias, like people actually judging us based on who we are, that's what strikes at our ability to belong. When we worry, based on my work and research, I can tell you, when we worry that you're going to judge me, you're going to take your love away from me, you're going to take opportunities away from me, that's what causes us to suppress our authenticity, and it strikes at our belonging. And so that's what pushes us to feel like, I got to put this performing self mask on, curate who I am, change the way I speak, change what I talk about, change the way I dress, not tell you about my anxiety, depression, or who I really want to love, or how I view my gender, or how unwell my parents were, or the really crappy neighborhood I grew up in. Whatever the fear is, it's what causes us to curate and sanitize. And so we hide our emotions, we hide our behaviors. And we do this not because we're evil human beings trying to deceive others. We do this to shield and protect ourselves from judgment, which is one of the reasons, Mel, why I don't use the word inauthentic ever. I feel like the term inauthentic, like my first book, The Authenticity Principle, I wrote in it, the term inauthentic or inauthenticity, in my view, has a lot of negative connotations to it. It's like you're deliberately trying to mislead people about who you are. My work and research has shown me, and I can tell you my own personal experience, is that when we put on our performing self masks, we don't do it because we're trying to mislead people. We do it because of hurt and woundedness. Do it because of pain. We do it because we're afraid others will take their love away. And you know what? It's not a figment of our imagination. It's because people in the past have taken their love away from us, and we worry it'll happen again. But as we do our healing work and we stand in our power, we start to realize a life that is created and rooted in belonging, where I feel in flow because I get to be who I am around you. Even if you'll judge me, I'm going to do it anyways, is so much more rich and beautiful than a life of literally walking around with that mask on all the time. And I can tell you, I'm not even effing joking because I did it for decades. This life that I'm leading, it's harder to live because it's more intentional and mindful, but it is so much more beautiful and worth it.
But in order to get to belonging, we have to go through the personal journey of authenticity first. And in your first book, you identified the 3 different versions we have of ourselves. And I love frameworks like this because they are
Yes.
so helpful in allowing us to locate which version of ourselves are we being right now. And
Yeah.
when you know which version you're being of the 3, you now have the ability to choose whether or not you're going to stay in that version or you're going to swing toward the authentic you. So can you walk us through what are the 3 versions of ourselves? And then we're going to take them one at a time.
Got it. So it's called the 3 selves framework. And I developed this framework based on my work and research because I was finding that people were in situations in the workplace and relationships where the surface level message was, be you. Of course, I want you to be authentic. Of course, I want you to bring your whole true self to this experience. But in the very next breath, it would be like, through the behavior, just kidding, don't actually be you. So it felt very complicated and confusing. It's how do I show up? So that's what led me to develop the model. We all have the 3 selves, and I'll take us quickly through the 3 selves, and then we can dig deeper into each of them.
Great.
So the most important self of all is what I call the authentic self. Your authentic self is a self where if there were no negative consequences for your actions, this is how you would show up. This is how you would speak. This is how you would dress. These are the words you'd use. This is where the content you'd share. It's where you draw a line, boundaries, yes, no, who you would love. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly of who we are. But because it's the truest reflection of our core self, it feels the best to do. So that's the authentic self. Resonating?
I love that. And I love the definition, if there were no consequences. How would you
Yes.
show up if there were no consequences? You're not getting arrested. You're not losing friends. You're not going to be embarrassed or ashamed by what you do. You
Yes.
just get to do you, and there are no consequences. That is very clear. What's the
Okay.
second version of ourselves?
Okay, so I'm going to go to the other side of the continuum, which is the third self, which is the performing self. So I've talked a lot today with you about the performing self. The performing self is the self that feels like we don't have a choice but to change who we are, mask aspects of our identity, cloak, hide, in order to shield from bias and judgment. It feels exhausting, humiliating, disrespectful to do, but we feel like if I don't change my accent or anglicize the pronunciation of my name or hide my experiences with anxiety, depression, or not talk about being transgender or whatever it is that we feel judged about or we feel ashamed of, we feel like we need to push it down. And of course, it feels completely disempowering and exhausting. And of course, the message coming out of today is to really take a step back and think about around whom are you performing? Like, why is that happening? What are the judgments coming your way? And most importantly, scripting, self-coaching, body-based, settle myself for those situations so we can push out of it. But that's the performing self, which I'm guessing, Mel, resonates given what we've talked about.
Well, I think that every single one of us became the performing self in middle school, and we've been doing it ever since.
100%.
And
Yes.
I would say until recently, I was the performing self in just about every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
The dutiful daughter, the hard work, like whatever hat I thought I was supposed, because I felt like everything had a consequence. Everything
Yes.
was high stakes. So everything required me to anticipate what I needed to do and to perform as such in order to succeed or be accepted or get ahead or whatever. And so I think, I would imagine based on your research, is that where most of us spend the most of our time?
Absolutely. And for those of us who have come from cultural communities that have heightened judgment and bias coming our way, we actually spend extensive time there. We spend most of our time there, and this is the problem. But it's the adapted self, the self that lives in the middle, that we've never explored before in this way, and is a really powerful self, because when we spend time with it, what we realize is, wow, number one, I have more agency in my life than I thought I did. And when I say agency, it's just a fancy way, Mel, of saying choice and control over how I behave. So agency, choice, and control over how I behave. I have more of it than I thought I did. Number two, oh, look at that. I'm behaving more authentically than I thought I was. And which in and of itself can be so empowering, because when we realize, wow, I'm already doing this, I could do more of it. That can be very liberating. And then the third thing is that it can also be a really safe place to stay in moments and situations where we don't feel safe to be our full authentic selves, or frankly, we're exhausted. And you know what? It's Friday night, the meter's off, and I don't really feel like talking about my day job. And so I'm just going to be more adaptive in this at this cocktail party, like whatever. And so your adapted self is the self that says, all right, Rithu, I hear you. I'm going to push out of performing as much as I can after today. But I look at my authentic self and I can't be authentic 100% of the time because I want to keep my family. I don't want to go to jail, as you mentioned.
Well,
I want to keep my job.
Yeah, I want to keep my job. I
want to keep my spouse.
What I like about what you're saying is this. You're offering something that is empowering and doable and realistic.
Yes.
There are times in your life where you have to freaking perform, because for some of you, you are listening to this or watching this in a part of the world where just being you could cause major harm to you because of your religion or who you love and where you live or what's going on. And so you performing a role is necessary. But what you're saying is that for so many people, that performance has been reflexive, subconscious, it's been a trap, it's become part of your identity. And what you're saying is that when you become aware of those areas of your life where you are performing, either because you are trying to adapt, right? You're performing consciously, strategically, because it aligns with what you want in your life, meaning you are adapting your true self in specific situations because it serves you, not because you feel like there's something wrong with you. You are the manipulator. You are the one that has something in it. You are the one that is deciding that it serves me to adapt my authentic self. Normally, I would pick a fight with my parents, and today I don't have the emotional energy for it. So I'm adapting to the situation consciously, strategically, which means I don't compromise who I am. I'm just being smart about where I put my energy. Is that a fair yes?
You put your finger on it. So you're like ding, ding, ding. Your adapted self is a self. Few elements. Your adapted self is a self that willingly, happily chooses to adjust your behaviors to meet your needs and the needs of others. It's a choice. It's willing. It still feels good to do. It's still a manifestation of your authenticity. It meets your needs and the needs of others. And so it's still empowering to do. The difference between our adapted self and the performing self is how it feels. So the more you adapt, the more you adapt. I have the model for the three selves is on my website, rithubasin.com. You can take a look at the funnel. But the more you adapt, the more you adapt, the more you adapt, you get pushed into the performing self vortex, and your body will tell you, this does not feel good. Whereas adapting your behavior feels perfectly fine. It feels good to do. The important thing to take away with the three selves framework is this. It's important for all of us to be mindful of what's happening in any situation, which of the selves is showing up. Try your best to push out of the performing self, adapt wherever you want to and need to, and then do your best to show up as the good side of your authentic self. Bring your good, your best authentic self side to interactions as much as possible.
When I think about the topic of both authenticity and how to be your truest, most powerful self, this is so difficult for people because authenticity is about you not censoring yourself. You identified the three different versions we have of ourselves.